What can do, chair good enough?
Thank you for saying that, buddy. I don't care if you have two rows, somebody has to always make the third row go sit in the back of the bus, right? We'll still call on you, Ted. You can't hide.
Best I can.
Mhm.
Kevin Grant used to make us sit up front, it's like, oh, okay. Well.
Read all those tons.
No, would you like that?
No, no. So
Down, these are, was fourth one.
let me vote out today.
Oh, you, first time?
Mhm.
Nice.
Not
Really though, huh?
Well, yeah, but we just picked today, we picked the time.
Oh, okay,
I just
so-
I went from the ferry landing to my house. Yeah, it was chilly.
Yeah.
But rain or shine, it's Saturday.
Saturday,
It's gotta be
I
based
know,
on
I know.
And his availability.
Yeah, exactly.
Who does it? Set something. All right, it is 6 o'clock, so we're gonna start our May 1st,
June first.
20
It says May, it should be June.
June 1st. This is not voting well. And I'm gonna go out of order that, what you have on the agenda, just because, we do have the ordinances and we have Buddy who's here and needs to do his job. So the first thing I'd like to do is, make a motion that we certify the proposed ordinance by the municipal officers for the June 20th, 2026 amendments to section 13R, section 17 of the building code ordinance to be acted upon by the voters at a town meeting to be held on June 2026. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and we have to sign multiple copies.
There's only one copy. Yeah, well then this is, we get this one separate.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Back in the right.
I like to work back. Mine's from my college days.
Probably in that.
All right, second, I'd like to, make a motion that we certify, the proposed ordinance for the municipal officers for the June 20th, 2026 amendments to section 15T and section 17 of the shoreland zoning ordinance. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And you said, but he does not get these.
No, he doesn't get those yet.
All right, thirdly, and this is where you come in, buddy, if we approve this. The third thing that's out of order here is, the warrant, and, I'd like to, make a motion that we approve the warrant for, the town of Westport Island, which includes a secret ballot election and open town meeting, June 9th and the 20th, 2026. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That has now been approved and Buddy will post it. Yeah, the two, we got some,
Yeah.
sorry, I was just explaining where it was going. So Buddy takes it down to the, town hall
Yes, I know, here.
and here, yeah. And it'll also be online,
Correct.
so you don't have to run down to the town hall to see.
But you should.
Yeah, but you could, since Buddy's gonna be doing that for us right this second.
That was okay, so.
Behave yourself.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, Buddy.
Thank you.
By law, we had,
All three of you.
thank you, Buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah, yep, we do blush when you talk, yes.
I love it's recorded for posterity.
But by law, we have to have, a certain time frame. Once the warrant is approved, it has to be posted, which is why we had to ask, Buddy to be here at 6 o'clock so it could be posted. So we have the correct number of days and hours that it has to be posted. So he'll take care of that and we'll be legal. All right, we're gonna start over now and go to the warrants. And, I'd like to make a motion that we accept accounts payable number 101 for $12,825.86. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'd like to move that we accept payroll number 102 for $2,664.44. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to move that we accept accounts payable number 103 for $6,533.70. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And lastly, I'd like to move that we accept payroll number 104 for $2,066.71. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I'd like to move that we accept the minutes for May 18th, the select board meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so this is the May 18th one, Kim, sorry, that one. We also had one that, you guys forgot to sign the other day.
I think we did it well.
Oh,
April made us do it.
okay, you're all okay then. All right. On to citizens issues. We have a lot of folks here. Anybody have a citizens issue?
I do, but I don't want to go first, so.
Well, go ahead, Mario.
Okay. No, I don't want to. Last time you told me I quit, I just said so. I don't want to do that, but I just want to point out problem. No, first I want to thank you for accepting my abatement request. How long does it take to get a check?
Could be 3 years.
We just-
Actually, we just, I
We're just
believe, signed
approving
it.
it
We're
now.
just approving it
Just
today.
signing it now.
Okay, and did you instructed her to make it for 3 years?
I was, but I believe it's back 1 year. I'm not sure. You'd have to talk to Ashley about that. And I told you, I thought, but I wasn't sure. And I talked to Ashley later and she said it was 1 year, I believe.
Well,
But I told you I wasn't sure.
I agree with that. I have minutes from a meeting where you guys approved an abatement, and I don't know who, and right away you approved it for 3 years. And I can show you the minutes.
Mario, it may depend on the type of abatement. I'm not sure. I would check with Ashley on that. Because there are different abatements. I don't know, in your case, I remember you asking a couple weeks ago and I told you I thought it was 3 years, but I wasn't sure.
Well, that
Yeah.
it was 3 years.
Yeah, but,
And I found in some old minutes, an
Yeah.
abatement granted and right away granted it for 3 years. So
Yeah,
I'm wondering why then and not now.
it,
Okay,
yeah,
Like you-
talk to Ashley,
you can
yeah,
answer me that.
yeah.
But the next question is, do we have guidelines for the board of assessors, meaning you, what your responsibilities are and what your duties are?
I'm sure we do. I don't have them handy.
Okay.
We do for the select board.
I would like to see it. Now, you signed the abatement. Were you aware what you're signing?
Yes, because we had talked to Ashley about it. I just want to go back one step because you're asking for what the job of the assessor is.
Board of assessors.
Right, would you put that in writing only because,
I did already.
okay, perfect,
Yeah.
thank you, perfect, great.
Now, my request for abatement for my regular house, it was that the waterfront would be readjusted to the abatement granted in 2006. Your answer to the abatement was there was a mistake in depreciation.
right.
I looked up some state statute on with the answer of the abatement. Every request, either approved or denied, has to be explained. You have that?
I don't have it handy, no.
But you see, that's why it aggravates me.
Mario,
No, Mario. It's the state law, what it says, and it's supposed to be done according.
I
to
believe
the
there was a statement on there that said, when we signed it, there was some statement that said whatever, and it was because you said, you said already that it was because there was an error, in the calculation or whatever.
That's correct.
Yeah,
But
so
the
that's the
error-
reason.
The error should be explained. A mistake in depreciation is a very vague expression. Depreciation for a private home is 27 years. For a rental property is 39 years. One is 2.2% and one is 3%. That should be explained where the mistake is. Plus,
You want much more detail than what you've gotten, is what you're saying.
it says on the law,
It's so-
that's what
yeah.
it says. But let me go on.
Yep.
No, that was for the prime house. For the cottage, I requested that the 2-car garage is actually a 1-car garage. The bathroom is 1 bathroom, not 1.5 bathroom. The grading should be C. On the property is incumbent with the right of way. And again, state law says as soon as you have a right of way on a piece of property, the value is supposed to be less. Now the appraiser came, he didn't even go in the cottage. How can he then decide on all my questions?
Did you see the assessor, and did you invite him into the cottage?
He was there, I was waiting. He didn't ask to go in. I said, you do whatever you have to do. He didn't do
So you
anything.
could have invited him in at that time to make sure that he saw those things.
So it's my problem.
No, I'm just, it would have
Okay.
made it a lot
He-
easier.
He did not ask, he did not. Last time I had an abatement, the old man, what's his name, Hoskins, he walked down to the water and checked it out. He didn't do any of this things. He just looked down the hill and that's it. And then, you know, he comes up with the same thing with the depreciation mistake. Now, the cottage is a rental property, but it's a different depreciation. It comes up with the same number, 18% depreciation. How is that possible? Well, you tell me I shouldn't criticize him, but that's a problem too, you know. Then on the paper you signed, it states, real change recorded in computer on property tax, property card. I checked my property card yesterday, there's nothing recorded.
It won't be recorded until they
Well, then
record
it
on,
shouldn't say so that it is recorded. Okay, either you do it one way or the other way, but you cannot have it both ways. Here it states, real change recorded in computer on property card. I checked yesterday at 4 o'clock, it's all the same.
so we need to reword that to say, we'll get to it when we do all the other property cards. And that would
Well, then you
make
should
things,
say that
Yep,
here,
yep.
sign,
clearly we should say that. Yep, got it.
I mean, it's loud and
Yep.
clear. Okay. I'm aware of 3 properties where the visit lasted 5 minutes. Online, the assessed property said an assessment should last at least 30 to 60 minutes.
Yeah, you mentioned that a couple weeks ago,
Let me
yeah.
finish, let me come to my point. Now, there's 3 properties, and I'm not going to tell you who they are, because it would disfavor them, it's not up to me to rather them. But basically, in the proposal from the company, it states, and I'm going to read it to you. Measure and list all residential and commercial properties. Taking exterior measurement of the foundation. In all three places that wasn't done. That's a breach of contract, in my opinion. And you should do something. I hate to criticize the guy,
Can you,
but it's a problem.
can you share those 3 properties with us?
Not because it's going to affect them negatively, so it's the assessor's
Send
job
Josh a note.
to find out.
How am I supposed to know then?
Yeah,
How am I supposed to address that if I don't know which property you're talking about?
I would be willing to disclose it if I have security that it doesn't affect it.
that doesn't make sense,
That
Mario.
doesn't make
I agree,
at
so
all.
it's not up
So
to me.
why bring it to us if you're not going to
Well,
want it, if you don't want it to be fixed? If your whole purpose to bring it to us is so that you can knock down the assessor, then just knock down the assessor, but don't say, oh, you got all these problems. I know where they are, but you guys need to go figure it out. That doesn't help anybody.
I'm not going to involve with them because, but you should speak to the assessment company that they do the job that they promised.
You do understand that they're not complete yet, right? You do understand they're in the preliminary stages.
These 3 places have been visited. It's done, it's finished.
Mm,
I know so. Guaranteed. I know with you, we measured the outside.
you
But
did.
then he did. Anyhow, that,
Checking with Josh, just,
Okay, what else is on your list?
she's gonna check in with Josh.
and let me know all the questions. I sent already some email to April and I expect answers. Not excuses like excuses.
Next.
All right, anything else? Yeah, you wanna trade places?
I got one question, because I read in the paper the other day about that one town that, emailed $187,000 to a company there, but it was a fake one, and they lost the money.
I didn't hear about that.
It was just in the paper just the other day.
Wow,
And now, my question I was gonna say is, how do you make sure that when you issue checks or do bank transaction, that it's going to the right person? I mean, you have protection, do we have insurance? For cyber theft or whatever, I don't know what the proper terms are.
I would say that, I know that Ashley keeps a very close eye on things and, you know, she does monitor. I know like we had an issue a year or so ago with somebody who said they didn't get the check or whatever and, but she does look at that closely. And generally, like anybody that we're paying, people come in here, like we know Josh, he comes in here. But our snow plowman, we send him checks, but we know who he is. So I would say the brunt of our work,
I was just curious.
yeah.
Well, we do have
Yeah,
we have a cybersecurity company that oversees that, so I'll get emails kicked back to me that have been quarantined and they're from legitimate people. But I've also gotten spam emails saying it's Donna.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking for money right now.
Yeah.
Evidently.
So you just
Well,
have
it's all
to
out there all the time.
be, yeah,
Yeah.
you just have to be like,
Nailed a couple of times through the
Really,
credit card,
really
I had to
careful.
fight it and got it resolved.
Yep.
Mine are all minor things compared to when I read this one for $187,000.
Yeah.
And it's disappeared on them. I was just wondering what,
Yeah, no, we actually, I know that Ashley has been looking at, in one of the processes that we use, they're actually doing even more security, and she could talk about it much more than we
I
could,
just
but
wanna
yeah,
make sure you're,
Yeah.
we're protected.
yeah.
To
and
lose
yeah,
that
that's-
kind of money must really hurt.
Oh, yeah.
all the taxpayers.
Yeah, yes, yes. Jim,
Just speaking of the process that me and Ashley use on road stuff, she gets an invoice from a contractor or a vendor. And I initial it before she pays it.
So you know it's legitimate, that you know the person who's doing the work and what they did, yeah.
No checks, oil, yep, that happened, we got that material or whatever. And we've caught a few mistakes from vendors with our system that we have between us, and she's very, very thorough.
Yeah, and I would say the majority of our, checks are roads and those kind of things, and so, yeah, yeah, school, yeah, that's a monthly check. Yeah, but yeah, we do try to take care of that. But just a citizens issue, I'll put it under citizens issue just because I need to put it someplace. On the 15th, which is our next board meeting, we will be inviting Kelt and Susan Gallagher, who wrote the ordinance that we just approved, that is going to be posted.
Ordinance amendment.
Yes, ordinance amendment. Because Kelt had contacted us and just said that they wanted to share how they use Roundup or glyphosate, and so we wanted both parties to be there to just
to,
share.
yeah, just to give the back history.
Yeah.
This person contacted us, says they happened to see kelp spraying at one point out on in one of the preserves. He was very upset with it, and so we had kelp come to one of our board meetings to explain how they use it, why they use it, and that kind of thing. And then this person went ahead, and it's her complete right to propose an ordinance change, and that's what she did. So that's where we're at. So this June 15th meeting will be Kelt's opportunity to speak to, okay, if you do this and you enact this amendment, then this is what's going to happen, and this is how it's going to affect the Kelt properties. We thought it was only fair that, you know, voters know both sides, so they know how to best vote for that.
Since we'll be voting on the 20th.
Yeah.
Are they gonna come to the town meeting?
I know that's,
No one's gonna watch. They're gonna be like 4 people here.
oh, I thought we were gonna have a
No,
full audience.
they
could come to the town
town
meeting,
meeting because they do all.
Well, I think it would be
Right.
fair to have somebody there in case there is a question.
Yep,
I think
Yeah.
it would be, yeah.
Because people need to really understand both sides to make a fair vote.
Right, if you
Yeah,
want the
but we
voters
thought-
to hear both sides,
Yeah.
they should definitely go the 20th as well.
Yeah,
Have a
yeah,
representative, yeah.
and I believe they're also gonna come to the planning board. Gary?
You probably don't know, maybe April does. Was Kelp ever invited to the discussions of the planning board when this was addressed? Seems
I don't
like
think
that,
so.
seems like that would have been the time to.
Mm,
No, they came to select board meeting.
We invited them to the select board meeting when I first talked to Susan, she told me the issue. I told her, because she specifically mentioned it was Kelp, and I
Right.
said that I wanted somebody from Kelp to be here to be able to explain themselves, and they did. I was Dylan who came in. He explained the whole process of how they did their things, but I don't know that they were ever invited to the planning board.
It seems like they should have.
Yeah, I just saw an email, I don't know if you've seen it yet, Gary, that, I believe John is gonna put her on the next agenda, but you're right, that should have probably, those conversations should have gone on earlier. What we're trying to do here as a board is say, okay, here's what the ordinance revision looks like. And you've heard, like, I don't know, those of you who went to the meeting last Friday or whenever that Friday was, where Susan was there and Susan talked and explained why she was doing it, but there wasn't the other side. And after hearing her say what she said, we just felt like we needed to have both sides talking.
But you're right,
So,
you're right. It should have been, because then your framework and your decision may have been different based on that information of having help there. There's
The planning board.
When Kelp
Planning board,
contacted you,
yeah.
was it like they had just read this in the paper and were?
no, I contacted them. This is a year ago when Susan contacted me with a complaint, and any complaint I get, I bring it to the board. So she had a complaint about, she said Kel was spraying things all over the place. I contacted Cal and said, this is what we've heard, and, if this is the case, or do you have some other feedback that you'd like to share with us? And they did come to, the board meeting, and he explained the process that he uses. He doesn't spray. They use very detailed, application. Yeah, yeah. So he explained that, and Susan said she still wanted to go ahead with an ordinance. And we said, that's her right. And, we sent her off, and I have not heard much else until I knew that, in fact, I just saw the ordinance, the way it was written just last couple weeks ago, whenever we got ready for our draft.
Who came to represent Cal? Was it Dennis?
It was Dylan. Dylan came the first time, and I talked to Becky this afternoon, and she and whoever's Dylan's boss, I can't remember the name now. And anyway, they'll be here on the 15th. So, I have not contacted Susan yet because, her name is gonna come up here shortly. And, if her name is approved, then I'll see her, I'll contact her on both issues, but I would like her to be here as well, so that both parties can talk. And we tape it, but we're hoping that we can certainly try to advertise it a little bit, but we think it's important that people hear both sides and before you vote on the 20th, or when you vote on the 20th. But I agree, we can definitely have people talk here. We can't guarantee that the town would say yes to them voting. I would hope so. But people from away aren't automatically allowed to talk.
But they do own land here,
Good point. But they're
so they could talk.
not registered
not, yeah, they just gotta be registered voters. There's like, even like the librarian from Wisconsin wants to come in and talk, and we have to approve it.
Okay.
To be able to do that.
I mean, there's Cal board members who are registered voters, so
Yeah,
they
who
could
could
speak
talk.
on behalf of
Yeah.
town meeting.
But anyway, so the 15th we'll do, we'll have that available. If there are no other issues, then we're gonna move on to road.
Not much to offer right now, still waiting to check if he wants from his, issue there, so we can approach Brady, getting a little late in the year here. Bothers me a little bit, but this is, I'm at mercy of
The weather.
weather and his health and.
Yeah.
So.
All right, let's go on to committee reports. Any of you guys have any committees lately? No.
No, we did have an architectural firm come this morning to do an evaluation for us on the old fire station. We'll be anxious to see what that report brings back to us. And based upon the expressions on the faces of the architects that were in there, I'm gonna suggest that perhaps they're thinking maybe not add on to that building, but I can't speak for them. So we'll see what they bring back to us. That's all I got on that one.
All right, then we'll move on to select board business. And we now have Sharon Nelson is also online, along with Jeff and Charlotte, just so since you know everybody who's here. We already certified the ordinance amendments to sign the warrant. We have a contract with Midcoast Maine, and Midcoast Maine. Midcoast Humane. Yeah, Midcoast Maine sounds much more familiar. It's one of those contracts that we have, every town has one, and it's based on the number of people that are in the town, not the number of animals you have, but the number of people. And so, we have a contract with them, and, I know it's in the ordinance how much it is, but I don't see it right this second.
We pay them by call or something. I think it's by call, and like
But we also
That's
have a
for-
certain
that-
amount that we pay.
we
every
allocate
year.
a certain amount to be safe houses.
Yeah.
But this is so that if
This is
if the
for,
animal control officer comes
Yep.
on a call and has to take an animal somewhere, we can take it there.
Yep. The fee for services is $1,157.59. It's based on the rate of $1.61 per capita. and it says the municipality population is 719, taken from the 2020 census. So according to 2020, we had 719 residents here. They also, charge for fees and that kind of thing. I will say that I had to take, somebody's dog one time to the shelter to be returned, and they were really great. And they allowed me to take them to Edgecombe, and they told me they were full until I told them I was a town employee. And then they said that what they try to do is have openings or hold spots for towns. So if there's an emergency or something, and somebody from the town contacts them, that they're allowed to, they'll do what they have to do to make sure that that is dealt with. So I'd like to move that we, accept this Midcoast Humane Agreement for Services. Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
all right. And you can sign.
Yep.
We
And are you the witness?
can do that.
It's,
It's select chair.
oh. Is that what that is?
It's
All right, we have a bunch of appointments to make, and let me see if I have some of
I
that.
don't have the paperwork, I just put them on
Okay.
your agenda, I'll do the paperwork.
Okay, good. That'll save us from having to sign a bunch of stuff today. All right, we have, Jack Swanton to the History Committee, so I'd like to make a motion that we accept Jack Swanton,
second,
on the History Committee. Do I have, all in favor? Aye.
And just to be clear, he's on the history committee as an associate member, he's.
Okay, he's now gonna be a member.
full member.
Okay. Second, I'd like to make a motion that we accept Susan Gallagher to the Conservation Commission as an alternate,
Associate.
associate. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right,
Aye. I will let Susan know and also then invite her on the 15th. I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Carol Norris to, election clerk. Do I have a second?
second,
All in favor?
all right,
Aye.
back up one.
I saw that.
Okay.
I did that purposely.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept Meg Skidmore as election warden. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right,
Aye. And we need ballot clerks, and, these, folks are, they've been appointed to the state election, but they also need to be appointed to the municipal election. So I'm just gonna go down the list and, see if we'll approve those. I'd like to make a motion that we appoint the following people as ballot clerks: Meg Skidmore, Deborah Williams, Ann Cole Fairfield, Carol Norris, Jessica Bailey, Richard Barker, Kathy Henderson, Ralph Cadman, Judy Pagan, Susan Anley, Ashley Murray, Dee Dee Greenleaf, Hodgkin, and Jean Cameron. Do I have a second?
second,
All in favor?
all right,
Aye. All right, next on our list is, we have been working with, those of you that were here this fall, we knew we had a special election for deputy CEO. And so we have been working on, updating the CEO, the deputy CEO, and the new deputy CEO, which we still haven't figured out exactly what we're gonna call it, Gary. But we, have been working on those job descriptions, updating those, and so, we have actually talked to, both Gary and Ron, and we have looked at some of their feedback, made a couple changes, and we're gonna try to move forward with this. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the job descriptions, those 3 job descriptions. Do I have a second?
second,
All in favor?
all right,
Aye. And we're also, for that job description, we are gonna do a job posting we, said way back in the fall that we were looking for an individual. Gary, one of the things that you said about needing somebody else to at least coming up the ranks eventually, maybe one of your sons will do it. Oh, you have a son and a daughter, right?
Forget about that.
Anyway, we just feel like we need to have somebody in place if we can get anybody. So we're gonna post the job and see what happens. So I'd like to make a motion that we move forward and post for the CEO job number 2 posting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Donna, are the
Mhm.
job descriptions all the same? It's the same position? Or the?
No, there are the deputy, the regular deputy and the CEO are the same because the deputy replaces, for example, when Gary took off to Greece for a week, then the deputy would be the code enforcement officer. For the second one, we had specifically called out certain things that we would like that individual to do. And so it is written in there. One of their jobs would be really focusing a lot on businesses. And then we're also concerned that there may be a lot of issues with the revow. And trying to plan ahead in case there's a lot of that happening.
So when you say businesses, what would the particular function be at businesses?
Looking at businesses, making sure that they're following the ordinances. Some of the ordinances, I think you had mentioned, Gary, that they weren't that helpful. And maybe we need to look at writing some different ones or updating them a little bit. So maybe that person would have some responsibility there working with the planning board. We're just trying to look at looking ahead about some of the things that might be needed.
So home occupations?
That would be one.
And
Yep,
non-home occupation businesses?
yep, commercial versus home occupation, all of those. Yep.
But this seems kind of targeted.
That is something that we want that we haven't done is a lot with businesses. And in fact, I think there are about 4 or 5 that are all of a sudden popping up like practically overnight.
Home occupations?
We're not even sure because nobody's checked into it. We just happen to see some of the things on Facebook or advertised or whatever. So we just need to check those out and see what those are about. Yep. And sometimes it starts as a home occupation and it sort of transitions to something else, and just being able to watch those kind of things. Yep. Gary?
One of the things we're gonna have to sort of work out as this process unfolds is if you have a second CEO who is a deputy that's technically subordinate to a CEO, we're gonna have to work out how to resolve any differences.
Absolutely. Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's my biggest concern in this
Yep.
whole scheme.
No, I get it.
as it's developed.
Yep, yeah, and that's why, we're gonna move forward with this, knowing that we have to monitor it very closely. And we're gonna be working with you very closely because, you're right. We have to figure out, like, what is it that this person does versus, and even though they're under you, how will that work? And until we get it started, we're not gonna know. And so we're just gonna jump in, watch it, and be flexible and be ready to change as we need to. But that's better than doing nothing. And that's, so we want to move forward with that. So knowing that we're gonna have to monitor that. Because we agree with you completely that how are we going to do that? We used to have an LPI versus a code enforcement officer. You guys figured out how to do those things. So we think that, we trust that you and whoever this new person might be will figure it out. And when there's glitches, we need to hear about it and figure out how to make it right. So, but yeah, I do think that, it's gonna be a work in progress. But, you know, when you make a change, then to me, you should always sort of monitor it to make sure that what you thought might work will really work. And if it doesn't work, then we go back to the planning board and not that planning board, but drawing board, not planning board, sorry. Go back to the drawing board and check it out. So, yeah.
Just to follow up, so this is something you're anticipating that deputy will be doing on a yearly basis, going around the businesses to make sure they're in compliance?
It could be, we're not totally sure exactly what that would entail. We need to look to see what's happening.
If you can put somebody in a pretty unenviable position, if that's kind of like a policing effort going on, it should probably be viewed by some people.
So the CEO has the word enforcement in the title.
Understood.
There hasn't been very much enforcement ever on Westport Island. We're getting feedback from residents that say, why not? It needs to be done. And what we're seeing with businesses particularly is that they'll start out as this. And oh, that looks really good, and that's a nice home occupation, and that's great. But now it's this, and now it's this, and now it's here. And if they'd come in originally and said, we're gonna do this, it would not be a permissible thing. But we're here now because it did this with no monitoring and no enforcement of ordinance. That's where we're headed.
I understand that portion of it, you could look at it the same as residential properties as well, so a lot of the properties that have built some probably without permits over time, and never, you know, probably would be permitted, just didn't have permits, some of them would probably never be permitted, but permitted, so why would you just limit it to the business development, because you can make a case.
We're expecting that the reassessment is gonna bring up those residential properties,
Right.
and that's gonna be this person's, that's gonna be their responsibility too. So we're not targeting businesses, but we do need to pay attention to them. And we need to start answering to those questions that citizens have about why is this guy allowed to do this when the ordinance says this? And that's where we're headed. And if we can't avoid it anymore. It's just kind of been, well, it's Westport Island. Well, it's Westport Island. Well, you know what? Westport Island got found. So now we need to make sure we're taking care of it.
They have a thick skin.
Yeah. It's not an easy subject. It never is.
You wanna apply for the job, Jeff?
That's what I was just gonna say.
Gary, I appreciate your comment about differences in opinion and interpretation. When you're doing law enforcement or you're doing ordinance enforcement, you can interpret things a lot of different ways, but you need to be able to communicate and come to an agreement on how things are. That's what policies are for, so that the interpretation, you might not always agree with it, but you're gonna have to go with, well, this is what was decided and that's how we're gonna move.
Policies are completely separate from ordinances. Ordinances are what ordinances say they are. And you can have a policy that contradicts an ordinance. That doesn't make it enforceable.
No, but you could have 5 people read an ordinance and have 5 different interpretations of what it means. So somebody's gotta get together and say, well, we gotta make it the same for everybody. You can't decide today, this guy's gonna have it interpreted one way, and this guy over here is gonna have it interpreted a different way. It needs to be consistent.
That was the basis of my question. I mean, that's the code enforcement officer's role, is to, or one of them is to interpret ordinances. And if somebody disagrees with that, it goes to the Board of Appeals to determine. So you're talking about injecting another entity into this process who could potentially make a completely separate interpretation. And that's my question to you, that, or my comment to you, is this is gonna have to be worked out ahead of time. How is that gonna be? What is gonna be the hierarchy, you know, the chain of decision making, and how is that process going to unfold? I've seen, you know, at planning board meetings and just in the general public, I've had people request or sometimes demand that I enforce rules that they wish were in place, not rules that are in place, but rules that they wish were in place. And you can't do that unless you want to increase your legal budget by 10x. You know, you just don't get it. You have to, if code enforcement makes a determination that there's a violation, one of the requirements is you quote a section of the
Mhm.
ordinance that that person is in violation of.
Yep.
And a lot of times I've been asked, questions about how can you allow this? How can you allow that? And it's because the rules don't say you can't do it.
But there are two things, Gary. First of all, I would hope that if there's, I interpret it this way, I need to interpret it this way, that there should be some discussion about that. And if there is that much lack of common understanding, then probably ordinance needs to be redone. So that, because if two people who are looking at it who know code enforcement are not in agreement, then probably others who are trying to read this and make sense of it, can I do this or not? So I suspect that along the way, we'll also have to maybe clean up some ordinances. I know that you all have been doing a lot of that with the planning board, and I feel like that's going to continue. And I think in doing that, if you're working on cleaning up the ordinance so they make more sense, at the same time that you're making sure that you have conversations and come to agreement about issues, then because you're right, I would not want one person saying one thing and the other CEO or the deputy CEO saying something. That's not going to work. But that's why we need to work together and figure this out. And again, it's going to be a slow process. Nobody's going to just jump in and start taking over anything. I think it's going to be a learning curve for all of us. And I just hope that, you're willing to come along for the ride.
I think at this point it bears saying that this is basically a volunteer position. There is no salary attached to this position, so.
There could be.
Yeah, exactly, well.
We said you should be too, for all the things that you're always having to do, that where you're not getting paid for it.
There is not, so.
Yeah.
It's basically looking for a volunteer who's willing to learn for
Yeah.
whatever reason.
Yeah, it could be that they're learning, and I know that there are a lot of places, a lot of towns that are looking for CEOs. It seems to be a problem area. So it could be that they get some training and then they say, yeah, I'm gonna go make big bucks someplace else. You make big bucks here, right?
What to do with it?
Well, that's why you went to Greece. Yeah. Alaska, Greece, yeah, you're telling on yourself, Gary. The very last thing I have is, in all of this conversation and whatnot, we also have been working on a land use permit, to make it easier. It might not look as easy, but to make it easier, so somebody is just a regular resident and trying to figure out, do I go here, do I go here, do I need a permit or not? So we cleaned up the permit and the permitting, the permit application. And so we, again, are going to test that out. Ron and Gary both gave us some feedback. We made some changes. We're not sure whether those changes are going to work. We're going to test it out and see what happens and go from there. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the new land use permit application form. And we'll probably be here in a few weeks doing it again, but for right now, we'll approve this version and then test it out and see what happens. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve that application form. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
What did I say?
Nothing else waiting for her.
Oh, okay. I thought I'd probably put my foot in my mouth again. All right, any other comments?
Could you explain
Yep.
to me your concept of the process of this new application being submitted and
Sure.
scanned? And I read your email, I was a little bit confused
Yeah,
about what
yeah.
you're expecting.
Yeah, basically, because what happens is, a lot of times, mostly Ashley, sometimes Dee Dee or April will get questions like, can you tell me about this? Or somebody will come to Ashley and say, here, I'm paying for my application, and that will, well, we haven't even seen the application, we don't even know how much. So what we want to do is streamline the process. So when an application comes in, we scan it, everything now, Bob Mooney has been scanning everything. Or at least all the, cards, the,
He's been,
property
got through all
cards.
the vitals and all the tax cards.
Yeah, he's been in here every week scanning things, so everything is now electronic. So an application comes in. You bring it to us, probably, April, she'll scan it, then we have it in the office. You take it and do what you need to it. We can look at it and see where does it need to go. The biggest thing I think is just making sure we can scan it. We have access to it immediately, even while you're working on it. And then as it gets changed, you just keep us updated with that. But that's the basic process.
So one of the comments you made in your email to me was that you felt that all applications should technically come to the town office first.
Yep. And that way,
And
yep, and
they
then,
get scanned in.
yep,
So whoever receives the applications here, is gonna have problems calculating an application fee. Sometimes, that's my job.
Mhm.
So if you, I mean, there's a clock that starts once an application is received.
right,
If April gets an application, she has no idea what the fee is, she clocks it in, she signs it, she scans it in. Now the clock has started, she kicks it to me. Maybe I don't get to it until, the end of the week, depending on what my schedule is like.
Yep.
That's it, I mean, it seems like you're trying to. How do I say this, you're trying to make it so that there's 5 different people doing one job that is supposed to be a specific job. I get the whole scanning in part, everything's going digital now. I don't see the need for scanning applications in before they're processed. I'm not quite getting the need for that.
that just lets us know in the office that somebody has submitted an application. And so when somebody calls and asks about it, that we just know that there's that application there. And then however long it takes, but at least we know that there's something there and something has been submitted.
I don't think it's a big change, because don't applications usually come to the office, Siri? I don't usually get them, I think Dee Dee does, because she gets the mail.
Sometimes they do, a lot of times they're emailed, I mean, if. There's no one way to submit an application, people will drop them off at my house, email them, they'll drop them off here, they'll get in my mailbox. It took me 3 months. Maybe longer to get you guys to all, so when you get an application, you receive the fee, give me a receipt. Because I would get the application, I wouldn't process it because there was no receipt that showed the application fee had been paid.
Yeah.
So we worked that out. Now, when you guys put an application in my box, you attach a receipt if you receive the fee.
Yeah.
So now I know when I process the application, okay, the fee is included. But it sounds like you want to input every single application that comes through the door before anything comes with it. That's the first step, is to process, to get the application into the system. And I don't necessarily see the purpose of that. Except that it sounds like you want to decide, you want somebody in here to decide who this application needs to go to. If it gets copied to the planning board or to the new.
Well, and it could be, yeah.
I mean, I look at that as my job, I start off. April and Ashley and Dee Dee, it's not their job, they don't, they look at an application and say, well, they'll email me or call Gary or something.
I think they would all go to you, is what you guys are picturing, right?
Right.
That would not change, I don't think.
But then from there, it may, then there's a decision to be made about one, do they even need an application or what kind of application? And that sort of starts the process, but at least we just have input that that this process has started.
Yeah, it just feels like this whole thing is being, my whole position is being micromanaged. I don't really get the whole requirement, the whole sort of central processing in this office for building permit applications, when people in the office don't know the job, they're not supposed to know the job.
I
Right.
think part of it, Gary, is that you can't, in this position here, you can't have too much information. So if, and not saying anything about your job or how you do your job, but, and you do it very well, and you've always done it the way you've done it, but the not knowing on this end leaves a deficit. God forbid, I don't know, anything ever happens to you, you're one person doing all of this. And that's a, what do they call that, single
Problem,
source,
there's no redundancy.
single source of failure in business, to have one person be the pinnacle that knows and has all the information. And I'm not saying that we know, I you know, none of us are gonna look at an application and know exactly what that is your job and that is what you do. But it's just, at some level, we need to just be in the loop a little bit for what's going on out there. That's all it is. It's not to sort of direct it in any certain way. It's just so we know.
Yeah, and all of us get, you know, I remember talking to you a few weeks ago when you and I actually met with a person who, you know, comes to me and wants to know, you know, why you aren't allowing him to do whatever he wanted to do. And it's like, then to find out, you know, is there an application even out or not? And I don't think I think he'd just given you one that day or something, but to, you know, so when I get something like that, it's like, just, I could have said, yes, you know, there, you don't have anything yet. If I know that there's a system that I should have, if there is one, then I would have at least been able to access it. Let's try it and see what happens. If it looks like it's causing more trouble than it's worth, then we try something else, or we go back to.
I'm still not clear on what you're expecting of me. So if somebody emails me an application,
Just bring it in and we'll scan it, and then we know it's,
before I process the application, I
Like-
bring it up here, have it scanned in.
if you,
Well,
if you use the process, yeah.
Yeah, just forward an email. But, so I don't think the staff has any interest, believe me, in taking any part in the CEO process.
No,
I think the idea is Bob's gonna scan everything that's in those files in, and we wanna make sure there isn't new stuff getting put
Yeah, I'm
in.
all on board with that.
Because
If you've got a box in there that is for scanning, when I process an application, instead of putting it in the file, if I put it in a box for scanning and then you guys, that's great, that's perfect.
But it's also better for us to know, I think the point Lisa was making is Ashley and Dee Dee and I get called all the time. What's going on with my application? We don't even know if there was an application, you know, when did you submit it? I don't remember. Like, it's helpful for us to know when they came in and that you have it and then when one actually went out. So this is a way that everybody knows. But I think the process, and I wanna make sure you guys have the same understanding, is that Dee Dee or Ashley or me, if any of us get them, whoever gets it would scan it in and put it in your box. And then it's your baby to do whatever you want with. If something was emailed to you, you know, obviously you can take it from there, but you forward it to us and then we know it's there, we save it in the right file so that if a call comes in.
When the neighbor calls and says, the property next door sold, they have a building permit, and we're like, I don't know, do you know? No, I don't know, do you know? No, nobody knows anything. So it's like,
So are these scans gonna be part of a public database? Or is it gonna be an internal database?
I mean, it's all public because of FOAA. It already
If
is.
people come into the office, but is it gonna be accessible online or is it?
no, that's not our
That's not,
intent.
no. But there was somebody that came in the other day and, he was looking for open permits, and it's like, we don't know.
Oh,
And,
yeah,
but he did say that there was a towns had actually folder, notebooks.
Sometimes do.
Yeah, but, you know, that would mean paperwork, but it's the idea of even knowing what is out there, because I remember we had the conversation about the one person who actually was living in his house already that we hadn't seen the permit for. And I know that it, for some reason, it just took forever. I don't know. I think there were some issues with it. And you had okayed the permit, but we knew there was somebody living in there, but we hadn't seen the permit yet. And somebody had asked about that. Well, who's building whatever? And it's like, we don't know. So just having a sense earlier of just maybe the open permits or, you know, however we choose to do it, but just it would make people's lives here a little bit easier. So we're not looking like we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, I think the gentleman that was requesting those files was a salesperson at a lumber company. And they're looking for client prospects. So they, you know, it's like people submitting a complaint, you know, it's easy for them to, what's going on over there? You know, and they might not realize that just that 3 minutes on the computer causes, you know, 6 hours of work for somebody, you know, on the other end. You know?
Yep.
And it's the same way this person did a blast email to code enforcement officers all around, you know, the region. And, you know, now it's like for towns that don't publish, you know, permit lists, you know, then you have to think about, number one, should we?
Mhm.
Number two, how would that work? You know, is that sort of a weekly updated web page or a sheet on a web page, or is that?
Interesting.
Yeah,
have to call
yep.
office and get a list or?
Jim?
I don't think building permits should be online. Because you're just inviting thieves and to migrate towards job sites. And I don't think that's a good policy to have.
Oh, good way to find extra materials and stuff.
In
Build your own house.
this building is one thing.
Yeah.
Online is a complete another.
No, when we talk about scanning it, it isn't to be put out there for the world. It's just,
Where.
Yeah.
So I see
Yeah.
that as just an
No,
information
no.
to
no,
People that don't wanna work and.
no.
Maybe they live it off somebody else.
I can just imagine. I need bricks. I'll just go down the way to the house that's where they're building something and, yeah, no, but we have tons and tons of files back there, and I know we've been working for a good while, but Bob has done a tremendous job on just trying to clean up that back area there and that's what we're hoping to do. So let's keep having some conversations about this. It's not about trying to micromanage or anything else. We're just trying to make it easier when people keep asking questions and we can't answer them.
Well, if I happen to get an application and I forget to send it in for scanning, if you're not gonna dock my pay.
We will dock your pay for sure, since you get paid such big bucks. You'll have to do something more local next trip instead of to Greece.
Wait a minute. Do you have a smartphone? You do. Is that a yes?
Yes,
So the smartphone has a scanner in it. All you have to do is hold your phone up and click and hit one button and you can email it. So you don't have to physically come in here with a piece of paper and put it through a machine.
Yeah.
so are you saying that all you want is a copy of the application?
Yeah.
That would be a good start. Yes, yeah.
Cause I think you believe me, it's an application and all attachments, and sometimes attachments.
Are huge.
You know, architectural drawings. and
Right.
things.
But pictures again are good, because I know when we always look at the applications, and it's like the present application doesn't tell us very much at all, and we just all look at each other and say, what were we trying to do here? And then there's never an attachment. But you're right, because there are pages and pages. We know what they look like when we get them from Flycatcher or whatever. But you can at least just take a picture of the basic.
The staff can do all that. I mean, we have.
Yep.
The apps now on that we all have on our smartphones attached to the town office OneDrive. you don't even have to take a picture, which is a little bit janky and the lighting can be weird. You just hold it up over the blueprint. I've done this with big, huge subdivision maps. And it'll just upload that file right into our town office files. So it's really easy for the staff to take care, even if it's a big attachment, we can do that really, really easily.
Yeah, because it would help us, because we do look at everything that you send us and but generally it's just the one page and it's like we generally look at each other and say, what was it that and we're hoping that the new application will really clarify that for us. That's why we've added some of the things that we did. And we made the changes that you had suggested. So we'll try it and see what happens. And
Works that way.
Yep. And, you know, we'll have plenty of conversation all along the way. Any other thoughts, any other questions? All right, with that, without further ado, I'm gonna make, a proposal that we adjourn for the night. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? All right, it's about an hour, Tom. You said, yes, it's still recording. We need to-
I think it's your.
Yeah.